Welcome back, agents, to another episode of Prime Tips. I've got an expert here this time. It is Agent Vane. He's green. Don't hold it against him. But he's an okay kind of guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about anomalies. Hopefully we'll get to get one back. I don't know. I haven't heard much about anomalies, but I'm sure they're just trying to keep that quiet. You think so, Vane?
Yeah, nothing yet. Nothing official yet. I'm assuming really we need to get a little bit further along in vaccine availability, and a lot of large-scale events for outside of Ingress are still being canceled or held remote. So that's probably where we're at. But there's a lot that goes on during an anomaly, and each one's a little bit different, and each one has its own rules. There's some things that kind of stay the same. And when it comes down to winning, there is a winner, and there's scoring, and that's what we're going to look at is some of the rules and some of the scoring. So let's look at some of the rules. Now this is from, how long ago was this? This would have been, Myriad, probably what, 2019, you think? 2019, oh yeah. That was definitely 2019.
So they have the different events that they have, one of them being a shard battle, which is quite different from shards whenever you're talking about shards on a worldwide scale. Longest link path, and I think they probably had unique portal hack as well in that one.
Yes, yeah, Myriad Anomalies had unique portal hack, shard battle, and longest link path.
Right. So there was 3 events. And those 3 events go pretty much simultaneously. Is that right?
Yep, everything simultaneous within the anomaly window. But the scoring was each of the individual games had its own scoring, and then you had to pay attention to the checkpoint times to kind of get the full picture of everything.
Right, and checkpoint times are typically 20 minutes, I think, before they take measurements. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd have to look at the exact times, but it was the window of, you had the measurement window, so you'd have, really at anomalies, it would always be referred to as a measurement window.
Right.
And then I believe for Myriad, it was 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, so it was every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then each game within that, you would have to, really be working hard on it during the measurement window, and then for unique portal hacks, that was always just revealed at the end.
Yeah, just hack all the time, and that comes out. As we'll see, that can really make a difference on an anomaly. So sometimes your side may decide, hey, measurement 2, we're really going to work on the longest link path, or number 3, we're going to work on the shard battle, or they may just try to do them all. And the scoring, we'll see, this a little bit different because sometimes they take the best of one round, and sometimes they average stuff together. So shard battle, you can see there that they're talking about a jump. It has to be a level 4 portal existing, and doesn't need to be fully resonated, but you try to get it to move. And longest link path, that one's kind of hard to keep in your head because you had a start and an end. Well, a start portal. So each team had their own start portal, and then you wanted to make that jump from that portal to another portal to another portal. And if I was right, the scoring changed. So, the first jump didn't count quite as much as the second jump. And if you had a third one, it counted more with a multiplier. So if you got, 5 jumps, that 5th jump is worth more, depending upon its length. Is that right, I think?
Yeah, the longer, the better. The first link in a link path being counted. The second is, I think, twice, and then it just kind of goes up exponentially there for a little bit, up to 8. I think 8 was the maximum that you could have, at least for the Myriad anomalies.
Yeah. And then you get crazy things like if it looped back, where do you count? Is that 6 links, 8 links, 7 links? And they answered all those questions when they had this document up for people. So the big thing there was you had to keep your base alive. I think that happened to the Resistance a couple times in Chicago, that they get it strung out and then somebody would kill the base right at measurement time. And
all about the base portals.
It's all about the base. So then each anomaly will have some sort of benefit that comes out afterwards. So the winning side will get something. I can't remember exactly what this one was. I think that they got choice of key advantages.
Yeah, for the Nemesis sequence finale, similar to the prime anomalies, at the finale there were going to be a number of key advantages that you would win during the anomalies leading up to the finale. Mm-hmm. So the faction that would win Myriad would get to decide the key advantage that they would be able to use within the Nemesis sequence finale, mm-hmm. which, as we all know, hasn't happened yet. Still waiting on that eventually.
Yep. But it should happen. So if you're looking online, there they have the shard battle link path. So they have the times. So 20, 40, like you said, 60, 80, 100, 120, 180. The other thing that you will probably see is they do a lot of ornamentation of portals, and different ornamentations mean different things, even so much that, if you went to one, you probably got a card. I'm sure the green had a card something like this.
I've got a couple of mine hanging up over here.
Yeah.
Just out of reach.
Yeah, so they say things, link to pink in our case, because pink was a resistance research portal, and I think the Enlightened was yellow that year, that particular one.
Correct, yep. Yeah.
And so they give you all kinds of information on those. Usually they'll have here's one from Madison. I don't know if you can see that. But it has explanations of the games that they're playing, the times of the different measurements and things like that. So these were kind of invaluable. I always thought it was kind of stupid, though, because, the idea was stealth. And here I'm wearing this thing that says, I'm Resistance. But you guys had yours as well. So
yeah, I think it reached a point where both factions were doing the little, cheat sheet cards. And it just became something where, yeah, if you really wanted to stealth, you could just put it in your pocket or just out of sight, out of mind, tuck it under a shirt or something. But
it doesn't take long to figure out who's who, though. When you're standing on one street corner and there's 4 guys on the other side and things are blowing up, hey, those are the frogs. And so
I think it gets to a point too, or at least in the lead up to post-pandemic Anomaly landscape, so many folks that would attend Anomalies would get to know each other, even across the faction divide, that you see a lot of familiar faces, and it's kind of hard to hide from that.
Yeah, it is. And throughout the day, you learn who's who real quick, and it doesn't take long, and stealth is broken. So on the screen are some examples of the base portals. So that was the base portal for the Resistance and the one for the Enlightened, and that would have been the start of it. Zone portals? I don't remember the zone portals.
So the Anomaly zone portal was just to mark all of the portals that are inside what they refer to as the anomalous zone. So that is the border at which the anomaly is occurring in. Excuse me.
That's all right.
And that was always sort of something where, you would have it on a map in the lead up to the anomaly, but there was never really a visual indicator of where all of the individual anomaly portals were. And with the anomaly zone markers, it just makes it very clear, yes, you are inside the anomaly zone, or no, you're outside of it.
Right.
And then those kind of just blend in. If you're looking at screenshots, you see them all over everything. But during the action, you're always focused on, where are those base portals? Where are the research nodes? Where are the shards spawning? And you're really just kind of looking for those other ornaments that differ from the anomaly zone ornament.
And they have a play box, and that play box was usually put out a couple weeks before.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah. And so typically, as soon as that play box was out, people would get inside that play box and just farm the crap out of it. So everybody would have keys. and that makes a big difference when you're doing like links and that kind of stuff. So scoring changes a little bit. Typically, here's one that they give you the 40 points for the unique portal hacks, and again, as Vane said, you won't know that till the end. Then the other two, the longest link path and the shard battle, is 100 points possible, but you get your percentage. So if we split it 60-40, the resistance we get 60 for one, and the Enlightened we get 40 for that one, and maybe the other one, the Enlightened stomped us and they got 80-20. And so you come up with some kind of crazy scores doing that, but it's that unique portal hack that's all or nothing that can really swing stuff one way or the other.
Yeah, that really started making it interesting when, traditional anomalies before the unique portal hacks were in place really became a raw numbers game. Mm-hmm. Just who could push out the most in terms of registration, whereas the unique portal hack, sort of the way that Niantic averaged the measurement, throwing out the top 15%, the lowest 15%, really made it more competitive against that just raw number advantage.
Right. I know that I was basically told, go over to that street corner and just run frogs around and hack everything, because I got into that anomaly late. So I wasn't in on the planning on the other stuff. And so, yeah, they compartment, well, at least on our side, they compartmentalize the information. If it's a need-to-know basis and you don't really need to know, go over there and do this. Okay. But you get an idea of the overall as well. So you've got the measurements that you have to look at, the site scoring, which usually is kind of a mystery if you're out in the field sometimes, trying to keep up with what's going on. And typically when you have an anomaly, there is, well, and again, I don't know if it's going to be this way, but at least in past, it had been there was a rallying point. It could be a hotel or someplace like that everybody kind of starts from. Hopefully that's close to the play box. In Chicago, it seemed like it was 2 miles away. But so you would come together there to kind of start and then go out into the field, do the whole anomaly, and then come back to that spot for the official announcement of the scores and, people telling tall tales and, camaraderie and all that other good stuff that happens at that time. So I don't know. I've only been to a couple. I think Madison was a little bit different that they didn't do that. I don't know if that was they were trying to move away from the big rally point or not.
So the photos at the beginning of anomalies have always been something that the community has sort of been divided on in terms of, do we forgo the photo in lieu of strategy, or do we all attend the photo in case Niantic has a card up their sleeve? I know there were a few anomalies, I want to say Aegis Nova, where there was requirement that in order to win faction-specific intel, all registered participants had to be at the photo location. Ooh. Because Niantic would call out random names of agents, and if they weren't present, they couldn't win an intel package. So those weren't strictly a scoring advantage, but it was something where the intel package might contain volatile portal names, which you might as well just count that right off the bat as free points to some extent, because just knowing where those portals are in advantage can really make it a lot easier for any particular faction to hold those throughout a measurement window.
Yeah.
So it's always been a little bit of a back and forth. I know it also depends on if it's a primary or a satellite location, and really down to what the POCs are petitioning Niantic to do and what Niantic expects from us as agents.
Okay. I kind of shoot for newer agents, so there might have been a few things in there they didn't know. POC, it's point of contact, right? And then what's the difference between a satellite and the other one?
So a satellite and a primary anomaly, the only real difference is the Niantic presence. So a primary anomaly generally has Niantic staff on site and a little bit more fanfare. So those official after parties that you had mentioned, or the official rallying point, the photo, those more often than not are happening exclusively at primary anomalies. Whereas satellite sites, there might be a Niantic staff on location to do generic announcements at the end for scoring, but really Niantic is a lot more hands-off in the actual anomaly day, and they're only available for the planning and the lead up.
And so you'd have a primary and your satellites running on the same date, correct?
Yes, yeah. And a few of the later series here in Nemesis sort of changed that up to where there weren't really any satellite locations. All of the locations were almost basically treated as primary in terms of their scoring. So that, I believe, was an attempt to get Niantic back in the Anomaly game a little bit more in the players' presence. But then we also had, during the Nemesis series, I believe, Myriad, where there were no Niantic staff at any locations.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that big difference because Chicago was, well, it was the prime. I mean, everything was on the line for Chicago. And so there was a lot of presence there. And then, of course, Madison wasn't that way. It was a satellite, I think. And so it was more like a homegrown. I mean, nothing against it, but you could tell the difference. And you talked about preparation before time. One of the big things is if you know where those volatiles are at or those important portals, you get on the timetable and flip them before things start. That way, if the opposing side comes in and says, "Oh, we'll just flip these to the last minute before the measurement, and we'll capture them," and that doesn't always work, does it?
Yeah, inoculation strategy is always a hotly debated topic. And I think, it's always obvious that both factions to some extent are looking at what they're going to do for their preparation and the lead up to the anomaly. You had mentioned, key farming prior as something that occurs. You've got teams that are organized. You've got preparation for inventory loadouts. Sometimes as much detail as how you dressed day of. You had mentioned, trying to be that stealth team.
Yeah.
And then depending on the anomalies, sometimes you have what I would like to refer to as the extracurriculars. So your Go-Ruck tie-in events, the Intel Ops, and all of those lovelies.
And usually, I mean, they might have like a mission day that follows it the following day. Or I don't know if they have anything. Well, Go-Ruck before?
Go-Ruck before for the stealth ops was always the night before the actual anomaly, and sometimes the intel ops would also be on site, which would be the night before, and those were just sort of, you would win additional intel for the anomaly day itself. So going back more towards the location of those volatiles, or in the Myriad series, maybe figuring out where some of those base portals are in advance for longest link path, or where a shard spawn might be.
Yeah.
And those could be won through Go-Ruck or through Intel Ops.
Yeah. So really, you're looking at like 3 days of Ingress, hardcore, if you want to get into everything. Field preparation, they clear the play box every now and then?
Yes. So because of inoculation strategies and to try to offset any faction-specific advantages, Niantic would, I believe they referred to it as, just neutralizing the play box. There might have been another specific term there, but I apologize. It's been quite a while since we've had an anomaly. But essentially what they would do is they would pick a random time within either like the hour before or sometime right before the first measurement would occur. And the play box would become gray during that moment. And generally it was a rolling gray. So you would see portals becoming neutralized by, phantom agents just all across the board. But
spoofers.
With how many agents are on location during an anomaly, the joke was always sort of that graying didn't really amount to much, because as soon as the portals would go gray, they'd be recaptured again.
Yeah.
And the inoculation timers did not get reset during those neutralizations. So really it was secure the portals again for your faction and hope that the inoculation timer was to your advantage.
Yeah, and I'm sure it kind of helped you out because if you this one needs to be green, but it's blue, well, we'll just wait for it to roll through and we'll make it green or make it blue so you can change it. So scoring is the thing at the end. So look at some scoring. Now, what we're looking at here is the Chicago scoring. And we picked Chicago. Well, I'll admit, I picked Chicago because we won. And it was, as we'll probably talk about, it was quite a deal. But it actually had 4 events in there. Is that correct? Capture Battle, Shard, Artifact, and Unique Portal Hacks. And so those were, I think the Shard Battle was a percentage, was a quarter, or how did that one work?
So each had their own associated point value, and like Artifact Collection, Shard Battle, every Unique Portal Hack had a percentage in some respects to the full score that could be achieved for that anomaly site.
So, but I think that the Unique Portal Hack was an all or nothing.
Yes, yeah. The points for Unique Portal Hack are traditionally an all or nothing.
Right.
So the other 3, the Capture Battle, the Shard Battle, the Artifact Collection, that was sort of you can win a portion of that from the available pool of points based on the percentages.
And the thing is, just your regular, agent on the street may not understand that, well, I don't understand how do we get 65 points and they got none, or, what is the difference here? And that was a big thing with what happened in Chicago. Being on ground in Chicago, I got to admit, I just thought we were getting our ass handed to us. I mean, everything was green in the play box most of the day, and so it just didn't look good to, the uninitiated agent in the field. So much so that, like we talked about, you came back together, that large room, and where they're going to announce who's got what scores and winners and stuff like that. I left early. I was like, there's no way we're going to win this thing, And lo and behold, when I was halfway to where I needed to go to pick up my wife, I heard some news. So when I was in the room, the feeling was it was a very jubilant green feeling in that room, and a lot of downtrodden resistance players. But you were in the room when they made the announcement, and that changed a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say it was across the board, it was a complete I don't think anyone in that room was expecting the outcome. Maybe a few folks, but I think it surprised a lot of folks. Yeah. And really, it came down to make or break. One individual person could have probably thrown the score in either direction.
Right.
I have seen very few anomalies that have been that close that I've been in personal attendance for, and yeah, I think General Air. The team that I had on the ground that day, we were just greening things up and trying to do our best, but we tried to also just keep pushing ahead, because you never really know until it's over. Yeah. And you can't count on, well, all of these portals are green. Does that mean we're, landslide victory? No, you have to keep fighting. And the same goes if you're, a member of the resistance. Just because it looks like you're winning or it looks like you're losing, you just got to keep fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing was that I don't think we knew. We kind of had an idea about capture and shards, artifact collection. I think that swung really late in the day, and of course, unique portal hacks. We didn't know until they actually made the announcement. So that was the big thing. So that was a difference of I think it was like 5 points difference. So yeah, any little bit could have made the difference on that one. So the scoring then for that individual anomaly, you have a winner. And then if you look at what happens across the world on a day, you have final scores. And there's kind of a rolling thing there, because they'll start in what's the first area that they start with? Japan.
Yep, generally APAC.
And then they'll move across Europe, and you'll see some of those come in. And then we're kind of the tail end of the whole deal in the United States. So Sometimes I don't know if it's like voting that that we look at it like, oh, we're getting our butts handed to us. It's not worth doing, but I don't think that's a deal actually. But
yeah, no, a lot of times for the American anomalies, you wake up on the morning of the anomaly and you're hearing the scores from all the other regions, and it's like, okay, more pressure is on you at that point because your anomaly site holds so much more value based on how performance was for the other major regions.
Yeah, because like you said, if the two other regions are, one side's just ahead by 2, and there's 3 sites, we need to get our 2 out of those 3 sites. So typically each region has 3 sites. Is that right?
I know with the Nemesis sequence events, I believe they were aiming for 3 across all of the regions. So each region would have 1 site, and then that was shifting around and changing based on just a lot of different factors during Nemesis. But it either is a multi-weekend affair or a single weekend affair in traditional history. So you would have the Myriad Anomaly series, and it would either be a single weekend where each region has an anomaly in it, or maybe there's 2 anomalies in this region spread out by multiple hours. So it can really vary based on what scheduling they come up with and the scoring.
Mm-hmm. And that one weekend could carry over to the other weekend, so you might have that going on. So that's a lot of stuff about anomalies. If you ever get a chance to go to one, go to one. They are a blast. You might have to do a little bit of travel. Speaking of travel, there are agents that travel literally across the world for these things. I know in Chicago I met agents from Europe, China, all over. Again, that was a little different because it was a big one. But so, what else do you have?
Yeah, I think I would say the same thing. If you get the opportunity, even if it's not something that's traditionally in what you would view your wheelhouse for Ingress, anomalies are a blast. Once we're post-pandemic, I'm looking forward to celebrating my 20th anomaly on the ground at some point. Wow. So,
well, that's only
hopefully it'll be a finale to something, but we'll see. We'll see.
That's only 10 times more than I've got. I've only got 2 under my belt. And speaking of those anomalies, hexathlons, how do those figure in?
So hexathlon's completely different in terms of, anomaly is its own category of events, and hexathlons are their own individual category. They are similar to anomalies in the way that scoring plays out, where it's a live event. You typically hack a registration portal, so there's that meetup or rally point that you had talked about, and then there's a defined period of time. I believe they were about an hour and a half. So you would have a few things in there: artifact collection, unique portal hacks, trekker distance, deploys, any sort of game metrics that they could throw at it. And unlike an anomaly, hexathlons are more individual stat competition. So you could be competing with other members of the resistance as much as you're competing against Enlightened that are on the ground that day.
So it's kind of a step between a first Saturday, in-person first Saturday, and the anomaly. Might be something that's kind of good to take as a step going towards an anomaly. I know that there was actually there was an anomaly in St. Louis, which was close to me. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm, got on my big boy pants enough to be able to take part in an anomaly. But that's a wrong attitude. I mean, first-time players. I mean, I think I saw some level 2 and level 3 agents at the anomaly. I'm like, wow. But I guess if you live in Chicago, that's a little different too. But yeah, it is for everyone. And I had that feeling that I'm not going to be able to give to my team much because I don't have, the big boom and that kind of stuff. It's like, no, you just go out and hack as much as you can. And by golly, that made the difference. So yeah, there's a place for everybody. So
yeah, and especially with the extra things you've got, Goruk, you've got Intel Ops. There's a lot of decoding challenges now, and it's really just a event celebrating Ingress and celebrating the different types of competition that are out there.
The future, what are we looking at as a possibility? I know that you just nobody knows. But what is the guess? As soon as
I would
Go ahead.
really hope that when things get to be a little bit safer in terms of vaccination uptake and restrictions lifting in different portions of the world, that we kind of ease back into things. So I'd like to see in-person first Saturdays return once it's safe to do so, and then maybe a few hexathlons thrown out there just to kind of test the waters a little bit for larger meetups. And then once we're sort of back into the swing where conventions are occurring again in the world, I think at that time it would really be appropriate to try for another Anomaly, and just see what can happen. I also think Niantic is in a position now where so many things are starting to come to the Prime scanner, as you've been talking about, that really the future of Anomalies could be anything. So we could see some completely new things coming down the pipe that nobody knows about.
Yeah, I was talking about battle beacons, and I could really see a battle beacon playing a big part in the first Saturday. I mean, it shouldn't be tough to put that in as quote unquote a game, but I could see that very well. God, it'd be just completely nuts. But throwing off 20 or 30 battle beacons at an Anomaly, that's insane.
Oh yes, yeah. I almost think that the way that the battle beacon was designed, it really seems like it's an Anomaly style visual indicator, because so much of the Anomaly scoring happens outside of the scanner. You don't really see when those measurements occur. You don't know the exact timing.
Yeah.
And the visual feedback is just, you have to keep playing because you don't really know how things are going. Yeah. So the battle beacon, the little box that appears above the portal that contains some of the scoring details, if that would be present on portals during an Anomaly, showing you a little bit more detail for maybe here's the sway percentage wise for how things are going, I think that could make it a lot more interesting.
Do we have any Anomalies where Prime was the only scanner?
The Umbra Anomalies.
Umbra did.
That was a Prime only.
So it might have been the Anomalies passed because they were kind of strangled by the limitations of the redacted scanner, and now they have the ability to do a lot more with the scanner since it's on a whole new code base and everything. So who knows? Maybe they'll have something like that built in. So okay, well, I thank you a lot, Agent Vane. I hope that I see you in the field sometime under a cover of blue, of course.
Not if I have anything to say with it.
That's right. All right. And I hope I see you in the field sometime soon, agents. So long.